Hi, so we're going to talk about today Diwali Rangoli, which is an art form that is practiced mostly in India, but in other parts of the world that kind of correlate with a holiday. So what we're going to do today is we are going to be making these out of quilling. Quilling is a paper technique where you roll up little rolls of paper to create your artwork. And I'm going to show you how to do this today. It's going to be symmetrical, which means if you divide it in half, it'll be the same on both sides. It's actually going to be symmetrical in two ways. So if you divide it in half this way, it'll be the same on both sides. And if you divide it in half this way, it'll be on the same on both sides. So let me show you how to do that today. Okay, so for this art project, we're gonna need lots of different supplies. We're gonna need a template, which I will let you borrow. This is a circle shape, which we're gonna use to put all of our quilling materials onto. So I'll show you how to use that in just a minute. You're gonna need a pair of scissors. You're gonna get a little container or a little bit of glue. There's just regular Elmer's glue in here. You're gonna need a pencil to trace. You'll need some kind of like small stick, like a toothpick or maybe like a Q-tip end or something like that, but you need some small stick for your quilling. And then you're gonna need lots of little strips of different colored paper. So first, I'm gonna put some of these aside and we're going to start first to trace our template onto our paper. So I'm gonna give you the template. You're going to hold it in the middle with your fingers and you're going to trace around it with a pencil onto another colored sheet of paper here. So I'm gonna trace around my circle template, okay? And I'm making sure not to move or wiggle the template so it stays in the same place until I'm totally finished with my circle. Then I'm gonna cut it out on the line. It may be hard to see in my picture here, but I'm gonna cut right on the line with my scissors as I turn my paper. So I need to cut that out. Okay. Just do your best, but we wanna try to make it a circle. This is going to be symmetrical. Symmetry means it's the same on both sides, and it's actually going to be symmetrical in two ways. It's going to be symmetrical if you divide it in half, so it'll be the same on both sides this way. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to make my quills, and I'm going to set this aside. So a quill is basically just a sheet of paper that has been curled up, but there's different styles of doing it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your stick and you're going to take your paper on the end and you're going to just wrap it around in a circle, okay? And it takes a little bit of practice here, but you're just going to wrap it up. And if it's really long, like you can cut this strip in half if you just want like a small circle. If you don't want it super long, you can cut it smaller. But you want about half of these strips here that I'm gonna give you today. So you're gonna take that and kind of roll that up. And this, I'm gonna make this the middle of my circle. If you wanna make all of your quills first before you actually start to glue them down, you can, but I'm not gonna finish this today, so I'm gonna go ahead and just start gluing as I go along. So what I'm gonna do is once I have my quill, I'm gonna take that quill and I'm gonna dip it into my glue. No, I don't wanna sink it in there, I don't wanna drown it in the glue, but just a little bit at the bottom, and I'm gonna lift it up so you can see what it looks like. There's just a tiny amount at the bottom. I don't have the whole thing covered. And then I'm gonna put it where I want it. I'm gonna start with this in the middle and I'm gonna press down. And that means I'm gonna have to hold it for a few seconds. So I would say once you have the glue on it and you hold it, maybe count to 5 slowly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that should just stick right on there. So when you lift it up, it won't come off, okay? But we don't wanna bump it, it's still not completely dry. So I'm gonna set that aside and I'm gonna make a few more quills here. And I'm making this in a pattern. So you can decide what pattern you want, but I think for the next one, I'm gonna use purples. And I'm gonna go ahead and start my pattern. So I'm gonna take it around my toothpick here, or if you have a Q-tip or even the end of a pencil would work, but I'm just gonna start to wrap this in a circle loosely around, and I'm just working my fingers around it so it wraps in a circle, okay? And it takes a little bit of time here, especially if you've never done this before. It takes a lot of practice, which is fine, okay? but I'm gonna wrap this around, and I'm gonna use the whole piece this time so it's a little bit bigger circle, but I wanna kind of show you what it looks like. If you hold it really tight, like a really tight circle, it'll be smaller, and if you hold it loose, it'll kind of puff up, it'll be a little bit wider. But what I wanna do, the next technique that I wanna show you is to make kind of a teardrop shape with quilling. So once you have your circle on one end, you're gonna kind of pinch it together. Do you see how I did that? Let me hold it up kind of close to my camera here. Do you see that? How it's kind of shaped like a teardrop. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna set that aside, and it might unravel a little bit, but I can hold that back in just a minute. And I'm gonna make 4 of these to start with because I want it to be a symmetrical pattern. So it's gonna be the same on the top and bottom and the sides around the center point of my quilling pattern. And I'm gonna wrap this around, okay? And there's lots of different like patterns and styles that you can do, but we don't want it just to be random. We don't just want random colors everywhere. We want it to have a plan. We want it to be symmetrical. And I kind of make my plan as I go along. If you want to think about your plan before you actually get started, that's fine. Remember, I've got my little quill here, and then I'm just gonna take one end and I'm gonna pinch it together. This side should be round. This side is gonna be pointed right over here like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the glue to kind of show you how it's gonna develop here. I've got 2 pieces. I could make all 4 really quick, but I just wanna go into the next one. So I'm just barely gonna dip it in the glue, just a little bit of glue at the bottom. And then I'm gonna put it where I want it to go. I'm gonna start it at the top here. And I know this is hard to see because my fingers are in the way. I'm gonna hold it. Remember, we're gonna count to 5 slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm gonna lift up. If it doesn't completely hold, you might wanna hold it a little bit more. That one end is kind of sticking out. So maybe I didn't get enough glue on it. I'm gonna push a little bit more on that side. Okay, let's see if it sticks. There you go. And then I'm gonna do the next one. I'm gonna pick that up. I'm gonna hold it the way that I want it. Make sure to get glue on it. Don't drown it. Don't sink it in there, but a little bit at the bottom. If it drops in, which I kind of did here, that's okay. It will dry, but we don't want to get too gluey. We don't want to get too messy. See there, I got a little bit of mess on there. It will dry, and it will dry clear, so you're not gonna see it if you accidentally get it too deep in your glue. And you're just gonna hold it. Remember, 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm gonna keep developing my pattern here as I go around, and I'm gonna show you a few pictures of what it might look like when you are finished, but you are gonna develop your own idea. Just make sure it's symmetrical using your quilling technique. If you have questions, please let me know, and good luck, guys.